Hello, this is Ed Thompson with Manufacturing Systems Inc., MSI. Today we'd like to talk about how to cost effectively design control cabinets with Solidworks. I think the first project software package I saw that attempted to do this was developed in about 1985. The trouble was is that the initial cost of software and the training involved with it, that package and a number of them that followed throughout the years have not seemed to be very cost effective. They get used for a while and then something else comes up, and but I think there's some reasons why that is. One of the reasons is that if you look at a typical project right here, we have a schematic, electrical schematic for this little project. It only has about 6 motor starters and PLC and some other equipment. Um, so it doesn't take a lot of time and energy, especially with a little experience, that you can develop a schematic like this. And then once you have the schematic, then you can work down through there item by item and develop a panel layout. Now the panel layout is, again, it's been done for years with by drawing a 2D back panel and maybe a front panel, some other surfaces that are appropriate. We draw those to scales, then we go through and draw a square box with every individual item, and then by rearranging them on the back panel or the front panel here, we can see that they'll fit. And of course, if there's not enough room, we will have to go ahead and draw a newer panel and make it larger, which is all not just doesn't take much time. And so since there's not a lot of time invested, there's just not much time to be saved. The one area that there is some potential savings that SolidWorks can do for us, though, is when we get down to the bill of materials and some other features here. So, as an example, when you got done with this project here, you would end up spending a fair amount of time doing the balloons. You would then go over to the bill of materials, and you would have to type in each one of these things or verify each one of these items. The part number has to be correct, etc. And that is a little bit tedious. It's still not a huge amount of time, but it's something. And so what we've done is we developed a MSI library that you can see here, and the MSI Controls Library has probably 15 or 20 categories. Under each of these categories is quite a number of parts. I believe there's close to 3,000 parts in total. And so one of the requirements for these parts has been that we want them to be multi-configuration parts. So here's an example of a Keyence PLC. And if we look at this, you'll see that there's a number of configurations here. And as we go from configuration to configuration, if it would snap to me here, thank you. You'll see that it's a very simple part, just basically a square, cube or a block or whatever, and with a decal on the appropriate decal. So when you move to different parts, the decal updates, and it gives you a lot of good information. And but more importantly, when you place that the uh, into the control assembly, that you can see that it's going to fit and how much room there is, which is the same thing that we did back with the 2D system. So not that we have much time savings there, but one of the things that these parts will do is we have a custom properties, and we can put a description in there. And so by having that description in there, when we get done, we can then bring this views over into our drawing. With a couple clicks, we can create all the balloons and all the bill of materials. And so this particular project, we estimated it was going to take between 8 and 10 hours to do with 2D methods, and by doing it with 3D methods, we was able to do this in just a little over 2 hours. And of course, the savings is that the balloons are automatic, and all this data that came out of our library database, so to speak, was accurate. Now the trick is that once you get these things installed into the part in the library, if there ever are any errors or problems, then once you fix them, then they're kind of fixed forever. Whereas in the 2D system, what happened is you'd fix them, and then sometimes the next project or 5 projects later or whatever, you would get another typo, and when that happened, of course, you'd have to go back and deal with each one of those things one at a time. So you never was able to really leverage what you're supposed to be doing with that. So the other thing that we has been a great advantage with having a good library is with, if you look at the design binder in the MSI library, every design binder has been populated with links to data sheets. And the trick of that is that when if we typed in a lot of information into this design journal, it would take up a huge amount of information, and the file size just grows just ridiculously large. But what we found is by putting links in here to PDFs, that these PDFs then can take up almost no room at all. And as an example, if we click on this particular one, you'll see that there is the user manual for this particular device, and then you can go in there and look up any specific information that you might need, which is very, very helpful during the design process. And so what this does for us is that this library ends up becoming kind of a visual index, and so there's a fair amount of time savings just looking up information. So we save some time with the custom properties in the description, the bill of material, looking up information. And maybe the third, one of the third most important thing is we have multi-configuration parts. And so here we have go back to our assembly here. Here we want to install this part, say this one here, and we want to install a new PLC over here. Instead of if every one of these parts is individual files, it would take, we'd have, like a couple hundred files just in this one category alone. And so what the problem there is that when we go in to find a part, you just end up scrolling through all these parts to find the item you need. Whereas when we bring in something like this PLC in its multi-configuration, we can either drag it in there and get the list, or we can hit the properties and then we can select what we wanted. And so that just saves quite a bit of time all by itself. The fourth thing that we've done is we've added quite a few smart features. You notice that this part snapped right into the DIN rail. Other items that go on the back panel are designed to do that. Items in the front panel, there's methods of bringing those straight in. This particular panel meter, it's got the hole built into it, so that when we hit a couple buttons there, the smart features will cut the hole into the front panel, and by dimensioning it, and when you move it around till you like it, then you dimension it, and when you cut those holes in there, then this cabinet ends up with all the holes very precisely, rather than having to go in there and do it by hand. It's pretty much automatic. So we've found in this particular project here, we suspect, we went from about 8 to 10 hours to a little over 2 hours, which is a pretty good savings. And the work that we have a pretty high confidence in the work because so much has been automated, and so that's been very helpful. So if you're at all interested in pursuing this, this library is available. If you go to our website at MSI all one word.com, and under the store and products, you will see that we have this library available. Right now it's on sale for half price. And there also is a user's manual that you can download this for free. Just click on this link here. And what might be even more valuable is that we have a library which has a PDF for all of the parts in the MSI Controls Library. There's a PDF for every one of those, and you download this library, and this again for free. You can just put it on your system or into a directory, and you can go in there and search for them manually. Isn't too difficult to do that. It's a lot nicer to do it through the um, design library, but that's okay. You can still use it with no problem. And then, of course, if you do download the library, this download the library, that you'll be able to get the benefits of how to design these 3D control panels very effectively. If you have any other questions or concerns, or would like to contact me, you can do that through this website here. And so I'd be glad to talk to you if you have any questions. Thank you.